Okay, Internet, we need to talk. There's a certain 4-letter word that begins with R that, for both trigger reasons and YouTube reasons, I'm going to avoid using moving forward. But we need to talk. We need to talk about how allegations of misconduct and that 4-letter word are handled. We need to talk about how little information is given to young people and women who need it. We need to talk about sharing resources with our youth and the people who could potentially need them before they need them, and teaching them how to recognize potential red flags in a situation. We need to talk about who is held to blame for not knowing these things and not taking those actions when they had no idea what they should have done until it was far too late. We need to talk about the imbalances of power that still exist even in our supposedly great country, especially in areas that are run by a certain demographic. You know the one. I'm not going to say it. As a former citizen of small town USA myself, where I was also subjected to the abuse and exploitation that is so often brushed aside by police and church leaders, I feel that I can share with you a perspective you may not get exposure to anywhere else. There are pieces of your puzzle that have been stolen from your box, and you have built the puzzle incorrectly as a result. Allow me to hand you that box top so you can see the picture you should have built. In this go-round, I'm going to focus on the John Barnes and Krista Absoleth. That is a name that I will probably stumble on, and I apologize to her. In this particular edification session, because that is the one that was being discussed on a favorite podcast of mine when the idea for this knowledge sharing struck. There may be more of these, there may not. But let me make one thing very clear right away. I do not know either of these people, and I will not weigh in on the morality of what they have said to and about each other in the course of their legal battles. We have all heard those divorce and custody stories, right? No matter what the truth is, things get ugly in court, especially when you are in fear for your child's well-being. Now that that's out of the way, I am mad. Mad that the systems and the institutions that failed me have failed so many others. Mad that when I was made to feel dirty, crazy, dishonest, and over-sexualized, it wasn't just me. I wasn't the only one. I'll take a deep breath here and let me go into some specifics. Point the first. At the time of the conception of the child that they are still fighting over, Krista was 16. No matter what she was doing or where she was, that man, that 24-year-old man, was not allowed to touch her. She could not consent. The law in this area of the country does not allow wiggle room on this point. According to the website for the law office of Robert S. Toll, based out of New Orleans, according to Title 14, Section 80 of the Louisiana Revised Statutes, a person who is 17 years of age or older may be charged with statutory if he or she engages in a sex act with a person between the ages of 13 years of age and 17 years of age. The difference between the ages of the alleged victim and the alleged perpetrator must be at least 4 years, and the victim and perpetrator cannot be married to each other. A person charged with this may not claim that he or she did not know the age of the victim, as such a defense is not permissible. There is no wiggle room. To add to that, in small town USA, in places like I myself lived, you cannot take a piss without the entire town knowing where you did it, what time it was, and what color it was. Even behind closed doors, there is a good chance someone knew who was home and what bathroom you used. Why am I so angry about this? Why am I so upset about how this is being addressed? There's a bigger problem here than even just the institutions. The problem is our entire culture. I pulled up some news articles covering this case, and just listen to some of these. Just watch. She was not. Statutory does not equate a. It is only called that because she was underage and had sex with her underage because she was lying in a bar with a fake ID about her age. Women defending women just for the sake that they are women is just as toxic and dangerous as not supporting women. Use your brain and act accordingly. We just covered. There's no wiggle room. He's not a. It was consensual. Reply. Says every ever. Reply. Or it's just the truth. Reply. Would you have slept with a 16-year-old when you were 25? The next one. So you're just going to ignore the facts of the case to fit your narrative? I hope you never serve on a jury. And finally, there is no question her date of birth confirms she was a child when she conceived. Whether or not it was consensual, the law states that it's a statutory. I hope that clears it up for you. And then you have the people who came in trying to explain it could not be consensual. And to quote, it could not be consensual. Pervert. How do you know? Were you there? What was she doing in a bar? Give me a break, believing all the bull these women want to ruin someone's life. It would be unfair if she showed him false ID, but if you think of it logically, it seems unlikely. He would have to suspect her of being underage if he had to ask her for ID. Why is he getting alimony? He's getting child support, not alimony. He obviously is much older than her and seems to have money and is well connected. If the law says it doesn't matter whether or not she gave consent or tricked him, it's still... Again, if he did ask for her age, it means he suspected her of being younger, and therefore he shouldn't have taken the gamble. One he obviously lost. From the different coverages of this case that I've heard, that guy seems less trustworthy than she does. Again, I do not know these people. I do not know this particular town. But none of this is okay. And just from reading these comments, it's easy to make an educated guess at what pronouns each writer uses. It's safe to assume that most of the people defending the act that we just very clearly defined as illegal would consider testing the water themselves given the right opportunities. This is a cultural phenomenon, not one-off events. all of this leads me to the next thing that I need for you all to understand. Take this screenshot, for example. This commenter wants us to believe that Islam is right about women, especially this hose beast. Shares custody with the guy for 4 years before mentioning that he's a supposed... okay. Pure venom and spite from a psycho, spoiled princess who knows the law will destroy anyone she points a finger at. Women wanted equality, but still want that special privilege too. Time to go back to the way things were. The feminine mindset cannot be allowed free rein in a society and that society not collapse. What? In small towns, the established, older, white, male-presenting figure with a decent home and connections to the police department has a lot more say than a 16-year-old whose parents likely handled it exactly like mine did. The speech usually goes something like, "The police aren't gonna do anything to him. Did you do something to cause this? Who do you think's even gonna believe you?" When you talk to the church leaders, it's pretty much the same, followed by, "God says, man rules the house." Young ones in this country are not given the tools they need to stand up for themselves or to know who to reach out to when they are hurt in this way. And so often, the ones that should be providing these tools and protecting these innocent victims of violence, I said what I said, are not. Some end up creating equally bad situations for the survivor who is just trying to reach out for help. Then later, when someone finally does step in and tries to help, it just gets worse. Take the following. I completely understand your frustration because that is how the majority of us feel in Louisiana. It's all about who you know and what you can do for them to help you. I 100% guarantee if he did not know the sheriff or someone at the sheriff's office, he would have been put behind bars 16 years ago. Sadly, we are used to this in Louisiana. Happens all the time here. In this case, there was a counselor who finally directed her, all these years later, on how to report what happened. On how to report the word that I can't. For what it was. More venom and hate were thrown at this woman for not reporting it while she was still a child. She should have done it sooner. Clearly it was made up. It all had to be done just to turn things in her favor. None of these people were involved in this case. None of these people know the details. Just like me, these people are outsiders. These people are jumping to conclusions in exactly the way that I swore to you at the beginning of this rant that I would not do, because it's not fair to anyone involved. For example, it took her 5 years to report. Suddenly she gets into a custody battle and she remembers. Women must always be believed. You can hear the sarcasm dripping. For a man to be a father or father figure, all he has to do is have that kind of relationship. Then he gets to support the kid and the mom for 21 years because the law says he is the father. This piece of work isn't a mom who's doing what's in the child's best interest. That's why dad, both legal and biological, now has custody. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Not to mention that there's allegations now involving the child. And the child is so confused and so mixed up that she doesn't know who to believe or who to turn to. And you just want to give this poor little girl a hug and tell her it'll be okay, but you're scared to because no one even knows what she's been through, and she may not even appreciate the reach out. So what do? How do we fix it? Well, I'm hoping that this can be part of the first step, that we can draw attention to a problem that it seems like a lot of you may not even know is out there. Where do we go from here? Maybe there's someone out there with more knowledge than me on that piece who can pick up these threads and go somewhere. In the meantime, teach the ones around you. Teach your young ones what to look for and who to call if something happens, who to talk to. If they're not comfortable talking to you, who can they talk to? Who can they report an issue to? Where can they go if they find themselves in a situation that they're not comfortable in? Teach your peers to be mindful of themselves and of those with them when they are out and about. If you see something, say something. If your buddy's making a terrible joke, call them out. If somebody's making someone with you uncomfortable, call them out. Don't keep letting these things slide. That is what the problem boils down to. We have let it go for too long. Example, Islam